Hi, welcome to the part 14 of this video series. We are looking at real exam questions for AWS Solution Architect Associate Exam. Please subscribe to my channel. So this channel is totally dedicated to help you clear the cloud certifications. I have posted videos on AWS Cloud Foundation certification as well as AZ 900, TP 900, AI 900, and AZ 304. 303, so on. There are so many certification exams that I have covered, so you can subscribe to my channel and you can gain access to all of those videos. So let's look at question number 76. For questions 1 to 75, please refer parts 1 to 12 of this video series. So if you see my videos, we first try to look at the questions and understand the explanations. We identify the problem statements, we understand each and every option and decode the option, and we identify the thumb rule, what thumb rule should be applied in such scenarios. So you may look at this question, pause the video, identify your keywords, understand the story. So basically, what's the story here? So you have S3 bucket, the files are kept here, they are analyzed for 1 week. Okay, so after it is analyzed for 1 week, they must remain immediately accessible for occasional analysis. Consider this as your form 16. Okay, in US it is W2 form, so your form W2 or form 16, you know, uh, if you see companies like Infosys, Wipro, etc., they send the form 16, so they give you the link. Okay, and it is there for a week, because post 31st March, say the form 16 here in India comes around April, so they keep it there for a week because everybody must be accessing it and trying to download it, trying to view it, and so on. But after a week, the traffic reduces. Okay, and if the traffic reduces, this form 16, now people are not accessing it frequently, but you may suppose after accessing in the month of April, in the month of May you decide, end of May, that I want to again see my form 16, go back there to the link and see. So when you do that, you should see it immediately. It should not happen that, hey, it has been archived, you put a request to the support team, the support team will take like 12 hours to retrieve it. It's not that way. So your form 16, for the first week, people are analyzing it every day, then it should remain immediately accessible, because it is your form 16, right? You do not want to wait for like 12 hours or a day. You will access this occasionally, but you want immediate access. With immediate access, what comes into your mind? First thing that comes into my mind is that I cannot use Glacier. Okay, I cannot use Glacier. With Glacier, it is not immediately accessible. Second is this option B is talking about 30 days. Here question talks about 1 week, and this option is talking about 30 days. So why 30 days? That is something which we should understand, because all options, you see, 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. So here it's 1 week, but here it's 30 days. Why? So you can go and get a drink till the time I try to figure out why it's 30 days. So there is some sort of uh, life cycle rule that you can create. So if you are on a hot layer, after 30 days you put it in not so hot layer or cold layer, and then you can put it in a deep cold layer after like 90 days. So let's uh, look at other options. So B is definitely not right, because we want immediate access and Glacier does not provide that. Though with expedited retrievals, it can be made fast. Okay, with this one, but it cannot be immediate because it's sent to archive. So you will have to get it from archive. Hence, B is wrong. So let's look at A. So A is a disaster. Okay, you see this delete, delete, delete. They are going to delete it after 30 days. So your form 16 is gone after 30 days. You cannot access it. If you give this solution, you will be kicked out of the organization. So you see this section, you need immediate access for occasional analysis in future also. So if you delete the objects, it's gone. So A is wrong. Let's look at C now. If you see option C and D, both are similar. The difference is one is transitioning into S3 standard infrequent access, and the other is doing it on one zone infrequent access. What's the difference? So what happens is, yeah, the life cycle policy can move like after a week or 30 days. Usually we set it at 30 days. So we move it to standard infrequent access. The reason we don't choose one zone is only on one AZ. So if there is a disaster, an AZ fails, okay, suppose there's a bomb blast, okay, and that data center collapses, or uh, the data center is fine, but there is a bomb blast near it which disrupts the network, and that data center is not accessible. So what do? Now your form 16s are there and you cannot access it for some time, right? So um, we though one zone is very cost effective because it only has to keep one copy. In standard infrequent access it will keep 3 copies, but then this is not a reliable solution. It is not a highly available solution. Okay, so if you see this keyword here, daily basis, this itself is good enough to tell you that you cannot put this system on a one zone, because everyday users are going to analyze something or the other, and it cannot survive a failure of an AZ. So option C is the right answer. We will move forward. Let's look at 77. Please pause the video here. It's the options. There are a lot of options, confusing options. You can understand the story, go through the options, mark your keywords. We'll see you back. See, you have some storage on premises, okay, and it is running out of space. That is the business problem. Uh, it is running out of space, and because of this problem, they want to move it to cloud. So from here, it wants to move here. So this AWS, AWS usually uses orange as its color. So I don't know, in Hindi or Mumbai language, it's called Dingchak color. It's just Dingchak. See, another important thing is the company wants to migrate, but it wants to minimize the bandwidth cost also. मतलब अपने को travel भी करने का है, petrol भी नहीं खर्च करने का है, ठीक है? So it means that you want to travel somewhere, but you also want to be cognizant about the gasoline usage. You should not end up spending a lot of fuel. And the keyword is it wants immediate retrieval of data. And this client is very miser, right? At no additional cost. It doesn't want to spend money. Okay. Never work for such clients. Okay. If you see such clients, better to get rid of this project. So this question, they are totally very cost conservative. Now what to do? There are four options. Let's scan one option at a time. So first solution says is it will take the data from here and put it straight away in vault, glacier vault. There is nothing called vault, glacier vault, I think. If you see this, no, it connects to S3, the gateway, no, storage gateway. It connects to S3 glacier deep archive. Vault पे नहीं connect करता है. So it doesn't connect to vault, but there is something called glacier vault. What it does is, like, suppose you have some archive of some bank transactions. You see, if you have an account with Bank of America or JP Morgan Chase or ICICI Bank or State Bank of India, whatever, after a few years they archive your data. When they archive it, they do not keep it unencrypted and available to all. They encrypt it, and what Amazon says is, boss, you encrypt that and you keep those archives in the Glacier vault, and they will put access control on that vault. Okay, it's that safe. So double security, encryption and vault has a key, encryption has a key. Using KMS, you can use the KMS keys to encrypt the archive, and then you can use vault to safeguard it. Okay, you use this. So what happens here is, if you want immediate retrieval, you cannot use this solution. Okay, because it will not give you the response. So A is wrong. So what's happening with B is, it is using storage gateway using cached volumes. So if you use cached volumes, you will minimize the bandwidth cost, because caching helps you minimize the bandwidth cost, and there is no problem with immediate retrieval. Also, it will give you data immediately. First line looks okay. Second line says use storage gateway to store the data in S3. S3 is, when it says S3, by default it is S3 standard. So that's a hot zone. And it will also retain copies of frequently accessed data. See, it is already running out of space. So what it is doing is, it is not retaining the entire data. It is only retaining copies of frequently accessed data. Why it is doing that? So that if people who are on-prem and they access it again and again, they don't have to go to AWS. If they are on-prem and they are accessing it, they don't have to go to AWS, because if they again and again go to AWS, your bandwidth cost cannot be minimized. Okay, so the frequently accessed data they have kept locally. Obviously, it doesn't have all the data. For some data, it will have to go to cloud, but that is fine, because it doesn't say that the bandwidth cost should be zero. It says minimized, so we are minimizing it. So this option looks great. It is fulfilling everything. It is giving you immediate retrieval of data. Even to people who are on-prem, you can retrieve it immediately through cached volumes and data subsets locally. If you are on cloud accessing it through S3, you can immediately retrieve it. Okay, and you are minimizing the bandwidth cost using caching, which is perfectly fine. So B looks great. Let's look at C and D. So this option, what I find wrong with C is that it is going to use the storage volumes to store data locally. Now you are already running out of space, and then you will use storage volumes. So you will have no more space left to use this. So first line is wrong. Second line says, so it will back up. Okay, it will back up the data from local, from on-prem here, and it will put on S3 here, AWS, and it will do it asynchronously. It will not do synchronously. Nothing is waiting in the background. It will keep doing it. So when you are using storage gateway, I don't think this step is needed, because storage gateway takes care of uh, retaining or maintaining the copies on S3. C is wrong. The first line is definitely wrong. It will run out of space. It has already run out of space. Let's dissect option D. Option D suggests that you will use your direct connect to connect on-prem data center, configure storage gateway to store data locally. Again, it is storing all data locally. Okay. With B, it was saying frequently accessed data it will store locally, but here it is all data and it will asynchronously take the snapshot. This is again wrong. This middle statement is definitely wrong, and uh, storage gateway is, I mean, I'm not sure why you need a direct connect for this. The other connection mechanisms will also work. So D is wrong. Okay, so B is the right answer. So this is the thumb rule that we learned from this question. Whenever you see storage gateway or whenever you see on-prem plus cloud, that is hybrid cloud, storage gateway has to be in your answer. So here we saw two options with storage gateway and one of them was correct. Let's see the next question, question 78. So this is a story. The story is like there are three tiers of the application. The first two tiers are on EC2 instance and the third tier is on RDS. So these are the keywords EC2 and RDS for MySQL. Now let me mark a decision making factor which will decide which option should be the right answer. So here it says that identical datasets are being retrieved from the database, which is causing performance slowdowns. So whenever I see identical datasets, so I remember this thumb rule. If there is identical dataset and if there is slowness of application, use cache. If there are identical datasets and slowness of the application, use cache. Out of these four options, which one is talking about cache? This one, elastic cache. B is my right answer. I do not care a damn about other options. I got my answer. But from a concept perspective, let's scan other options. SNS to store database calls. The question doesn't talk about timeout and etc. So SNS is not a solution here. The solution is, so SNS, what it does is it sits here around the middle tier and it is used to create a queue and send notifications. So SNS is only for notifications and SQS is for queue. So whenever you use SNS, we use with Lambda or we use it with SQS. SNS alone in this condition cannot be used because it is just used to send notifications either on emails, SMS, etc. And A is wrong. Let's scan B. C. C is totally illogical, totally wrong. Read replica is not used to cache database calls. Read replica is not used for caching. It is not meant for caching. So C is wrong. And D is telling you to use data firehose to stream calls to the database. This is a caching problem, not a queuing problem. Okay. Whenever you see identical datasets making this issue, it is always a caching problem. So D is wrong. We will lock this answer and move forward. Let's look at question 79. It's a very small question, easy. Try to solve it yourself first. I'll wait for you to solve it. So what's happening here is, what's the story? The story is you have a website. It is running on EC2 instances on two ACs, okay, and you see a spike in traffic on specific holidays, okay, and you want to give a consistent user experience. So just common sense. Whenever you see spike of traffic, so this, what they're talking about is, this option is about scaling. So whenever you see a spike and you know when the spike will happen, it's not like Amazon.com. It's not like Amazon. The spike can happen anytime. Okay. Here we know traffic comes on specific holidays. If you already know it, schedule it. If you already know it, schedule it. If you already know it, schedule it. So this is the thumb rule. If you know the spike time, you use scheduled scaling. But what is simple scaling, step scaling? So simple scaling you can do based on metrics. Suppose the CPU utilization is the threshold is reaching, then you can scale based on that. Here you don't have to do that because you already know when to scale up. On specific holidays only traffic is there. Amazon, they don't know when to scale up, so they can use simple scaling based on the CPU utilization. If it crosses threshold, they will scale up. Step scaling, it is similar to simple scaling. The only thing that happens is instead of basing it on one metrics, you can base it on certain set of steps. Like if this metric's lower bound is not hit but that metric's upper bound is hit, then you scale up and so on. So that kind of stuff. Let's look at lifecycle hooks. So here, like lifecycle hook, if suppose a metrics threshold has been shot up and you have to scale up. Okay, so life cycle hook is not used for scaling. Why it is used is if suppose a new EC2 instance is being created because of that scale up. If you are creating a new EC2 instance, and when you are creating that instance, you also want, for example, some software to be installed. Say some ETL software like Informatica to be installed. Then you can use lifecycle hooks. But here there is no use of that. We are talking about purely scaling. So from a scaling standpoint, A, B, and D is what fits the bill. C never fits the bill. And among these, D is the right answer because we know the time. So we will do a scheduled scaling. We will not do a metrics based or step scaling. So revise your thumb rule. This is your answer. Let's see question number 80. Small question, simple question. If you see some movies, whether it is Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, whatever, so many times the actor or the hero is given some amount of time. In this case, we have been given 30 days. You have 30 days for what? To transfer the data from where? From on premises to where? To AWS cloud. Okay. Now, what they are telling is your network bandwidth is limited to 15 Mbps. Crap. Okay, and cannot exceed 70% utilization. That means you cannot use 100% of this bandwidth for this data transfer. 30% will be used by the employees. See, you are working for a client, for example, Deutsche Bank, and their employees are working, their IT team is working, they are using the network bandwidth. So, and in that, you have to transfer the data. So they will say, okay, you can use it only to 70%, and max you will get 15 Mbps. Can you do it? Do the transfer in this or not? So what we do is we do not become a movie hero, and we do not take risks and do it. We don't do that. We are total corporate professionals, so we do something which is very safe and secured. So in this case, Snowball is the only option left to you because it is guaranteed that within 30 days this transfer will happen. Snowball, what is Snowball? So if you have seen the movie Dawn, old Dawn from 1970s, this guy he's a great actor of Bollywood, Amitabh Bachchan. So this guy played that role. In that movie, a lot of time you will see smugglers and criminals. They are transferring things using a suitcase. So this is similar to that suitcase. If you order from AWS website, this device will come to your place. This guy will not bring it. It can come via courier. For 20 terabytes, this should be enough. You will not need Snowmobile. Snowmobile is like a big truck that comes to your premises and you can plug the network and copy the data. You don't need that for 20 terabytes. So these are the features of Snowball. You can pause this video here if you want to read each and everything. So few things I'll tell you. It is tamper and weatherproof. You can throw it on the ground. It will not break. And even if it gets wet, it will not lose the data. The data is encrypted using 256-bit encryption, everything. So if it falls in wrong hands, they can still not access the data. Okay, and it comes in two sizes, 80 terabytes and 50 terabytes. Obviously 80 terabytes will give you 72 terabytes of usable space, 50 terabytes will give you 42 terabytes. So 8 terabyte it uses for its own software. And it has e-ink display shipping information so that um, it can reach the right hands if it gets lost in between. So here VPN data sync, S3 transfer acceleration. See, transfer acceleration is first you have to get the data on S3, and then you can use transfer acceleration for if you want to move. If you know that you want to move it to S3, then you can use transfer acceleration. See here, it will not help you with that. Data sync will not help you. VPN will not help you. We will lock this answer, and that's an end to this part of the video. We will see you in the next part. Let's revise the thumb rule. Thumb rule 1 for this video, thumb rule 2 for this video, and thumb rule 3 for this video. Catch you in the next part.